Alright guys, welcome to another adventure of Starwind Aquariums. So this episode is about dosing, right? And so a lot of people have macroalgae tanks, and a lot of times it's either fishless where there's no nitrite and phosphate's really there, or people just have a mixed tank. But since your macros are growing so fast that they can't compete and keep up, so a lot of people do dose like I do. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I dose in my tank. The number one thing I like to use is pretty much Kent Marine, iron, and manganese. Not magnesium, manganese, right? People always get that confused. Look at that, manganese. Like Japanese, but it's not magnesium. And so you do need iron, but you could use a certain type of iron, which you can see some of this stuff which they use. And I wouldn't really recommend dosing too much iron because it will give you a lot of crappy growth and crappy things that you don't want to do. Pretty much it's chelated iron, but as you can see right there, there's only 24% in there, and then manganese like 1%, and zinc, and that's about it. But if you can find these ingredients yourself, hey, why not? But be careful when dosing, because if you don't know what you're doing, please do not overdose because you will have major problems. Let's look at the next item. Here we have it. Next is the Kent Marine Essential Elements. So I use this like once a week. It has some essential things, as it says in there. You're supposed to only dose 5 milliliters per 50 gallons. So I have about 60 gallons of water, so I do a cap full. Sometimes I do this at least 2 times a week, depending on what you do have in your tank and what's necessary. So there's a lot of calcium chloride, pretty much some more manganese, potassium chloride, nickel chloride, sodium, molybdate, strontium chloride, zinc, blah blah blah. So yet again, remember, you're getting a double dose of manganese if you're putting both of these in there. So manganese, I've never seen it really do any harm, but just make sure that your tank is sucking that up. Let's go to the next item. I do use the Fusion Hot. I'm not talking about Dragon Ball Z Fusion, but Reef Fusion Part 1. So unless you have like Helameda, or you just want that coralline algae in your tank, you can put some of this in here. Yet again, these are all the ingredients: more calcium, and this has magnesium in there, strontium, boron, iron. So watch out, you got a little bit more iron in there, more manganese in there, watch out now. So yet again, I do this like 1 time weekly. So let's go to our next item. So I just ran out of the Fusion too, but this is the same stuff for carbonate alkalinity. Pretty much you use that to raise your alkalinity. Most macros do take alkalinity up, and it shows you, beginner, you use 3 grams, and if you're an expert and you know what you're doing, and then advanced, then follow the directions. I don't really put too much in here because usually I do water changes, and every once in a while, if things look fishy, I'll use this for carbonate alkalinity, but I will use something else, and I'll show you just in a minute. Voila! If you want to get your pH up and get some carbonates in there, use baking soda. It will get your pH right up there, especially for people that I know for macro tanks, they do use faucet water. And when you do measure wherever you do live, the faucet water is trash, it's acidic, there's no pH in there. I like to pretty much dose a little bit in there. There's more. You can actually bake the baking soda, put it in there. I never really do that. I just get like a tablespoon, boom, and then I test it later. But obviously I use this a lot and I have great results. Don't try to make my water too acidic at any time, but do be careful with the pH swings. Usually if I'm on and off at one tank, I do it at night, and so it spring up, but please do not overdose if you do not know what you're doing. Next feller is Reef Plus, vitamins and amino acids, all this, right? So it has a lot of stuff in there. You got to watch out for that iodine, yet again, iron, copper, zinc, manganese, cobalt, molybdenum, nickel, thin, whatever the other stuff is. And then here's a whole bunch of other vitamins like riboflavin and thiamine, all this vitamin B and all this crap. So it's a lot of vitamins in there, but yet again, you see some of the same ingredients in some of these items. So yet again, you have to watch out for that iron. You don't want, if you don't have a lot of macro, don't dose a lot of iron. If you have too much manganese, which I never see too much going on with that, but just extra be careful and test your tank each week to see if that the dosing is good enough for you. So our next item is what we call magnesium. So yet again, you do need to test for this, especially in a macroalgae tank. You have to look at your magnesium because that's one of the essentials to magnesium. I try to keep mine at 1400, but I do dose this like once a week or twice sometimes, and it says to add 2 milliliters, 2 tablespoons per 50 gallons. So you're pretty much 2 capfuls of this would be probably 5 milliliters each. I do a capful, so yeah, you have to dose 2 unless you have other things that you're dosing that has a lot of magnesium in there also, but this is a must if you have macroalgae. Next item, I don't dose it much, but I do sometimes use potassium. Usually when you do water changes, potassium's already in your tank, but sometimes I don't do a major amount of water changes because I just don't like to change the atmosphere of the tank, because I see when you do drastic changes too quick, your tank starts to die off and the macros start to yet again fade away. So yet again, this is a little bit, sometimes I put a couple of drops in there and I see good results. Just make sure that you're testing and not overdosing. Next item, this is very rare. I don't really use it much, but I use this Strontium and Molly whatever. It's pretty much used for like zoas and all that. I bought it when I had a coral tank. I do drop a little bit in there, but not too much. You only need 5 milliliters yet again per 50 gallons, and so yet again, I don't really even use that much. I use a couple of drops in there like every 2 weeks or so. Not really a great user for that with macros, but I think it's good for my live rock if you're trying to do coralline algae and all that, which mine is starting to pop up pretty well. Next item, and I have my little buddy Lugol's. So this is the Lugol solution iodide. So pretty much you do have to be careful with iodide because you can kill some stuff. So usually I use this stuff if you have red macroalgae. I have a lot of red macroalgae like red Garcilaria, Hayi, and assortments of reds that can kind of go well with this. If you do this, I wouldn't recommend doing it. If you do water changes a lot, like cool, but if I'm not doing a water change in like 3 weeks, I do dose one drop, which is like 1 drop for every 20 gallons. So it's more than enough. Unless you have like a aquatic jungle of red macros, and but do test for this. Usually it's already in your water a lot, and usually I have high concentrations of it, but your invertebrates, if you do have any, will benefit from this. So yet again, this is something to not overdose, or you will lose money and fish and whatever you do have in your tank. Next item. Yet again, this is a food for corals, but yet again, I do use it to make some bioload. Just like, say for instance, if you don't have a lot of fish, it has, let's focus in there, crude protein, some stuff in there, and also I have a lot of copepods and amphipods in there. And ever since I've been kind of dosing this, they're all over the place. So yet again, this is another source of making your water a little bit dirty and some food for the fish and everyone else. Because when I do drop this in there, the fish go crazy, the hermits, everyone goes nutso, and yet again, it's making my water a little dirty. So yet again, I do use it. This costs a lot. This is like the professional, real big one. It was like 50 bucks, maybe 40, 50. So, but you don't really need them a lot, just like a little spoonful, and that's about it. Let's see if we have any other items. And I think our last item is Kent's Kalkwasser mix, right? So you seen my calcium, you've seen everything else. I started to use this, and it's great for my like calcareous, or you know, the losing my thought, the macros that take a lot of calcium in their skeleton, like mermaid's fan and whatnot. I've noticed that when I've dosed this, the structure is like rock hard, like it turns into Colossus. So yet again, if you have a lot of calcium, or even if you're trying to get some coralline algae in your tank, this would benefit. It's a lot of calcium, magnesium. It'll raise your alkalinity, as you can see, so be careful if you're not aware of your pH and calcium. Yet again, your pH will go to 8.0 to 8.3, and there's some calcium in there. So sometimes I don't mix the Fusion 1. I'll just use this stuff a lot. You pre-mix it, you let it sit for 24 hours, and I have a little case I have it in, and I get at least 5 milliliters every once in a while and dose it as I see fit, because a lot of times I can see certain macros dying back, and that's a lack of calcium or alkalinity or some building block that they do need. So thanks guys for watching. This is a couple items I do use. There's a couple more I just don't have a lot of right now. So maybe I'll update the video and show you like 2 more items that I gradually use sometimes. But I have great success with these items, and more or less I use some of them more than others. But thanks guys for watching. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos. Thank you for watching Starwind Aquariums. Thank you.